Have you ever wondered what lies beyond birth and death? Is life just a fleeting journey, or is there something timeless that shines behind the veil of our existence? Today, let us step into the luminous path of the Buddha's hidden teaching, a wisdom that has traveled across centuries, touching millions of hearts, offering solace, clarity, and freedom. More than 2,500 years ago, in the quiet kingdom of Kapilavastu, a child was born who would forever change the course of human history. Prince Siddhartha Gautama. His life began amidst luxury and comfort, yet from a young age, he carried a deep sensitivity for the suffering of the world. The palace walls could not shield him from the truth of existence. One day, on a journey beyond the gates, he encountered what would become known as the Four Sights. An old man bent with age, a sick person in pain, a corpse being carried away, and finally, a wandering monk with serenity shining in his eyes. Those sights pierced his heart. They revealed to him the inevitability of aging, illness, and death, but also the possibility of liberation. And so, one night, under a canopy of stars, Siddhartha left behind his palace, his crown, his wife, and his newborn son. He set out on a journey not of conquest, but of truth. For years, he wandered, studied with the greatest teachers, and practiced severe austerities. But no matter how hard he punished his body, the answer eluded him. Finally, exhausted yet determined, Siddhartha sat beneath the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya and vowed, "I will not rise until I have attained the truth." Days passed, temptations came, doubts whispered, but his resolve was unshakable. And then, in the stillness of the night, as the morning star rose, Siddhartha awakened. He became the Buddha, the awakened one. He saw life as it truly is, a cycle of birth and death, suffering and longing, but also a path leading beyond it into peace, freedom, and the end of sorrow. From that moment, the Buddha dedicated his life to teaching, not as a prophet of divine revelation, but as a guide pointing to a path each of us can walk. His teaching was not dogma, but a living truth rooted in compassion and wisdom. He revealed the Four Noble Truths: that suffering exists, that it arises from craving, that it can be ended, and that the path to liberation lies in the Noble Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This teaching spread far and wide, from the villages of India to the mountains of Tibet, from the temples of Sri Lanka to the gardens of Japan. Kings, scholars, merchants, and farmers all were touched by its simplicity and depth Along the way, remarkable figures arose. Emperor Ashoka, once a fierce conqueror, turned into a patron of peace after embracing the Dharma, planting seeds of compassion across Asia. Monks like Nagarjuna illuminated the profound philosophy of emptiness. Great teachers carried the flame to China, where it blossomed into Chan, and to Japan, where it became Zen. And even now, centuries later, the echoes of that era remain alive. Step into a monastery at dawn, and you will hear the chants resonating through ancient halls. In Thailand, saffron-robed monks walk silently through streets, receiving alms from villagers. In Tibet, prayer flags flutter on the mountain winds, carrying blessings to all beings. In Japan, Zen monks sit in still meditation, the silence itself a sermon. And in the modern world, you will find people across continents not born into Buddhism, but drawn to its light, practicing mindfulness, kindness, and meditation, weaving its wisdom into their daily lives. What is the essence of these practices? It is not ritual for ritual's sake, but a cultivation of the heart. Meditation teaches us to sit with the storm of our thoughts until they settle, revealing the sky-like clarity within. Chanting is a rhythm that reminds us of impermanence and compassion. Offering food or incense is not merely tradition, but a way of dissolving selfishness into generosity at its core. Buddhism is not about believing in something outside yourself, but about awakening the radiant truth inside you. Compassion, karu, is its heartbeat. Loving kindness, metta, is its fragrance. Mindfulness, sati, is its lamp. These are not lofty ideals for saints alone, but practical tools for everyday life. To be mindful while drinking tea. To be compassionate when a friend is hurting. To be kind when no one is watching. This is where the Buddha's hidden teaching blossoms, in the ordinary moments of our lives. And yet, the question still remains: what lies beyond birth and death? The Buddha taught that life is a stream, flowing, ever-changing, without a fixed self. Just as a flame passes from one candle to another, so too does consciousness continue. But ultimate freedom is not in clinging to rebirth, nor fearing death, but in realizing the nature of mind itself, boundless, luminous, and free. Nirvana is not a place in the sky, nor an escape, but the ending of craving, the blowing out of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. It is peace. It is liberation. It is the taste of eternity in this very moment. Today, as we live in a world buzzing with noise, stress, and division, the Buddha's voice calls out more clearly than ever. His message is timeless. Be mindful, be compassionate, be free. Imagine if we, even for a day, practiced seeing each person we meet with compassion, each task we do with mindfulness, and each breath we take with gratitude, our world would soften. Wars would lose their fuel. Hearts would heal. That is why Buddhism, though ancient, remains utterly relevant. It is not a religion of the past, but a living path for the present and future. Whether you sit in meditation, offer a smile to a stranger, or simply pause to breathe, you are touching the heart of the Dharma. And in those moments, you too glimpse what lies beyond birth and death. The still luminous presence that cannot be touched by time. So, dear listener, the hidden teaching of the Buddha is not far away. It is not buried in scriptures, nor locked in temples. It is here, in you, waiting quietly to be discovered. When you choose compassion over anger, mindfulness over distraction, love over fear, you are living the very wisdom that awakened the Buddha beneath the Bodhi tree. And perhaps the greatest mystery is this: beyond birth and death is not a distant horizon, but the infinite depth of the present moment, here, now. Awake. After the Buddha's awakening under the Bodhi tree, his heart overflowed with compassion for all beings. He could have remained in silent bliss, absorbed in the peace of nirvana. But instead, he chose to share his discovery, to walk among people, to sit beside them, to speak in their own language about the deepest truths of life. The very first people he approached were 5 ascetics who had once practiced with him, but abandoned him when he gave up extreme austerities. At first, they doubted him, thinking he had strayed from the path. But as he spoke of the middle way, the path that avoids both indulgence and self-torture, their hearts opened. They became the first disciples, and with them began the great community, the Sangha. The Sangha was not built on power or wealth, but on simplicity. Monks and nuns lived with shaved heads and simple robes, carrying only a bowl for alms, walking barefoot from village to village. They lived by generosity, not taking more than was offered, not hoarding for tomorrow, but trusting each day to unfold. In return, they offered teachings, guidance, and compassion. This community became the living body of the Buddha's teaching, and then came one of the most beautiful aspects of Buddhism, the universal inclusiveness of the path. Kings and farmers, merchants and beggars, men and women, the young and the old, all were welcome. The Buddha did not ask about caste, wealth, or status. He asked only, do you wish to be free from suffering? Do you wish to walk the path of truth? In those early days, disciples would sit under trees in open fields or by rivers, listening to the Buddha speak. His voice was gentle but firm, carrying wisdom in stories and metaphors. He spoke of the impermanence of all things, like a flower blooming and withering, or a river that never holds the same water twice. He spoke of compassion, saying that just as a mother protects her only child with her life, so should we hold boundless love for all beings. He spoke of mindfulness, teaching that to breathe in and breathe out with awareness is itself a doorway to freedom. His words were not hidden in mystery. They were direct, simple, and practical. They did not demand blind belief. The Buddha often said, "Do not accept my words simply because I spoke them. Test them for yourself, as a goldsmith tests gold by burning, cutting, and rubbing. Only then, when you see the truth in your own heart, should you accept it." Over time, Buddhism spread beyond India, carried by devoted monks and seekers. Emperor Ashoka, once a warrior drenched in blood, turned his kingdom toward peace after encountering the Dharma. He sent emissaries far and wide, planting seeds of compassion in distant lands. In Sri Lanka, the teachings flourished, preserved in the Pali Canon. In Tibet, they merged with local traditions, giving rise to a rich tapestry of prayer, meditation, and philosophy. In China, Buddhism blended with Taoist wisdom, birthing the serene practice of Chan, later known in Japan as Zen. Each culture gave Buddhism a new expression: colorful temples, golden statues, sacred chants, intricate mandalas. Yet, at its core, the heart remained unchanged: compassion, wisdom, and liberation. And even now, if you close your eyes, you can almost hear it, the sound of monks chanting at dawn, the rustle of prayer flags in the wind, the quiet hum of a meditation hall. These are not remnants of the past, but living reminders of a timeless truth. What the Buddha offered was not simply a religion, but a way of life. It was a guide to live fully awake, to walk this earth gently, to embrace suffering not with fear, but with understanding, and to discover within ourselves the boundless light that lies beyond birth and death. As Buddhism blossomed through the centuries, it did not remain only in temples or monasteries. It began to weave itself into the daily life of ordinary people. For Buddhists, every moment from waking at dawn to laying down at night became an opportunity to walk the path at sunrise. In many Asian villages, you can still see saffron-robed monks walking silently down the streets, holding their bowls. They do not ask for food with words. Their quiet presence is itself a reminder. People come forward with rice, fruits, or vegetables, placing them gently into the bowl. This act is not charity, but a practice of generosity. Dana, the giver, learns to let go of attachment, and the receiver learns humility and trust. Both hearts grow lighter In homes and temples, candles are lit before images of the Buddha. Incense drifts into the air, carrying with it prayers of gratitude and vows of compassion. For many, bowing before a statue is not worship of an idol, but a recognition of the awakened nature within themselves. It is a way of saying, "May I, too, awaken to truth and love as the Buddha did." Meditation remains at the center of practice. To sit in stillness, breathing with awareness, is to step out of the restless current of the world. Thoughts may come and go, but the practitioner learns not to cling, not to push away, simply to witness. In this space, the mind becomes clear, the heart becomes tender, and a glimpse of freedom arises. There are also practices of chanting, reciting sutras or mantras in rhythmic voices. These sounds, vibrating through the body and air, are believed to align the mind with compassion and wisdom. For some, the chanting is prayer. For others, it is meditation in motion. In Tibet, the spinning of prayer wheels carries mantras into the wind, a symbol that compassion can flow endlessly in every direction. In Japan, Zen monks sweep the floor as a meditation, each stroke of the broom a lesson in mindfulness. In Thailand, villagers release captive birds or fish into freedom, practicing compassion for all beings. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of these rituals is not the outer form, but the inner transformation. They remind us again and again that life is precious, fleeting, and interconnected. They bring us back to the Buddha's central truth, that we are all bound in the same cycle of birth and death. And we all seek peace, and yet, beyond these practices, beyond the temples and the chants, the Buddha's teaching points towards something even deeper, a liberation that cannot be seen, touched, or grasped by the senses. He spoke of nirvana, the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. Nirvana is not an afterlife in some faraway heaven, nor is it annihilation. It is the freedom that comes when the heart no longer clings, when the mind no longer fears. When one awakens to the truth of impermanence and lets go. Imagine, even for a moment, a mind without grasping, a heart without anger, a life without fear. This is not beyond us. It is here within us, waiting to be discovered. And it begins simply with one breath, one act of kindness, one step of mindfulness. The Buddha often reminded his disciples, do not chase the past, do not lose yourself in the future. The past is gone, the future has not yet come. The only moment you truly have is now. In this now, beyond birth and death, lies the doorway to awakening. At the heart of Buddhism lies not a philosophy locked away in books, but living principles, qualities of the heart that transform the way we see ourselves, others, and the world. These are the jewels of the Buddha's hidden teaching, and they shine with the power to change lives. The first jewel is compassion, karu. Compassion is more than pity, more than feeling sorry for another's pain. It is the deep wish, may you be free from suffering. When a mother cradles her crying child, when a stranger offers help to someone in need, when we choose to forgive instead of retaliate, compassion is alive. The Buddha taught that compassion softens the hard edges of the world. It dissolves the walls between me and you. In compassion, we realize that another's suffering is not separate from our own. The second jewel is loving kindness, metta. Loving kindness is the boundless wish. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. It is not dependent on what someone has done or who they are to us. It extends to friend and foe, to the one we love and the one who has hurt us. Imagine standing beneath the open sky and sending kindness like rays of sunlight, touching every being without judgment, without exception. This is METTA. The third jewel is mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness is the simple, profound art of being fully present. To walk and know you are walking. To breathe and know you are breathing. To eat and taste each bite with gratitude. In mindfulness, the ordinary becomes sacred. The Buddha said, mindfulness is the path to the deathless. For when we are truly present, we step out of the prison of past regrets and future fears. We touch the timeless now, where peace dwells. The fourth jewel is wisdom, praj. Not book knowledge, not clever arguments, but the deep seeing into the nature of reality. Wisdom sees impermanence, that all things arise and pass away. Wisdom sees interconnectedness, that my life is woven into yours and yours into mine, like threads of one vast tapestry. From this wisdom arises freedom, because we no longer chase illusions, but live in harmony with truth. Together, these principles form a path not just for monks and nuns, but for anyone, a parent raising children, a worker facing stress, a student searching for meaning. You don't need to live in a monastery to practice compassion. You don't need to be a scholar to practice mindfulness. Each smile, each act of patience, each breath of awareness, these are steps on the path to awakening. And in today's world, so full of noise, division, and speed, these principles are not old-fashioned. They are revolutionary. Imagine cities where compassion guided policy. Workplaces where kindness shaped leadership. Homes where mindfulness nurtured love. Wars would lose their fire. Societies would find healing. And even the smallest acts, offering a hand, listening deeply, forgiving sincerely, would become sacred. This is the hidden teaching of the Buddha, that liberation is not found in running away from life, but in transforming the way we live each moment. To practice compassion is to touch the eternal. To live with love and kindness is to step beyond birth and death. To awaken to mindfulness is to discover nirvana here and now. Today, more than 2.5 millennia after the Buddha walked barefoot on the dusty roads of India, his voice is still alive. His teaching has crossed mountains and oceans, languages and cultures, touching every corner of the globe. Centers in Europe, in mindfulness classes in America, in temples of Asia, in online communities where people from every background gather to learn the Dharma is flourishing, because its wisdom speaks to the human heart beyond time. Modern psychology now explores mindfulness as a powerful tool for healing stress, anxiety, and depression. Schools teach children to pause, breathe, and focus, planting seeds of awareness for a calmer future. Doctors and therapists recommend compassion-based practices for better health and relationships. Even in the busiest cities where life races forward, people find peace in a moment of stillness, in silence, in a breath, in a kind thought. But the relevance of Buddhism today is not only in its practices, but in its vision for humanity. In a world fractured by fear and division, the Buddha's words remind us that beneath all differences of race, religion, or culture, we share the same longing to be free from suffering, to live with joy, to be at peace. The path he offered is not about converting to our religion, but about awakening to our shared humanity. This is why Buddhism has never been about imposing belief, but about inviting exploration. He said, "Come and see for yourself." His teaching is like a lamp in the darkness, but each of us must choose to walk the path, to hold that lamp, to discover the light within. And so, the question still whispers, what lies beyond birth and death? The Buddha's hidden teaching tells us, beyond birth and death lies freedom, peace, and awakening. But it is not found in some distant future. It is here, in this very breath, in this very step. In the way we love, the way we forgive, the way we open our hearts to the world. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a world where compassion blooms in every heart, where kindness flows as naturally as breath, where mindfulness guides our every action. That world is not a dream. It begins with you. It begins with me. It begins with us right now. So let us carry the Buddha's teaching not as a story of the past, but as a living truth. Let us live with compassion, practice loving kindness, embrace mindfulness, and cultivate wisdom. For in doing so, we touch the eternal. We taste the freedom that lies beyond birth and death. And when the winds of change sweep over us, when the body grows old, when the final moment comes, we will not face it with fear, but with peace, knowing that we have lived awake, that we have loved deeply, that we have walked the path of truth. This is the gift of the Buddha. This is the hidden teaching. And this, dear listener, is the radiant truth waiting within you.